Hey guys, it's Hayes here, doing a two-part tutorial on text in Cinema 4D and then transferring it over to Photoshop and putting on different gradients and overlays to make your text look better and more professional. So basically what you're going to start out with is you're going to pull up a MoGraph text. So with your basic text, you're going to duplicate it, Control C, Control V, and sometimes my computer lags when I use Camtasia, so I'm going to do that again. Control on both layers, so you select both of them. Let's do Nate. Now we're going to use a graffiti font, so you don't really need to put it in caps. It's going to be the same in either or. Depending on what font you use, you may need to put it in all caps or different caps. It's your choice. So I'm going to start out by choosing my font and deciding on what looks the best for the background I'm doing. In this tutorial, I'm going to be using a font called Graffiti. You can get it on font.com. It's a pretty common graffiti font, so it's nothing too crazy, but I'm going to show you different tricks you can use to make your fonts look less like a font. So now I'm going to make the depth of each layer 180. Yes, you may think that's pretty thick, but it's not when it becomes, the end result. So what you're going to do now, you're going to take the back layer, you're going to go to caps, you're going to put it on Phillip caps, take it down to about 2, and let's go down. Let's see, 2. If you don't like it, you can put it up to 3. I don't suggest going any higher unless your text is bigger. So I'm gonna put that on. Go ahead and put that on 3 on the front and the back. On the start and the end. Apologize for that. So I'm gonna do the same on the first one, but I'm going to take my caps and I'm only gonna put them on 1. Now you're not gonna really see this much, but it's gonna be there, so it's gonna give you a different effect, and it's how I do all of my text. Take the back layer and you want to push it back further into the background so you have the edge, so you can see that. Now after I've done this, the text is pretty much done the way I want it done. So basically what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take and I'm going to put my textures on my font. Now I have 2 already selected that you can find in Rated's graphics pack. His 5K pack, I think is which one is his material pack. And this is what I usually use. It just makes it a lot simpler, a lot faster than trying to create a new color every time you come into Cinema 4D. So he has this shiny material or metal material. I'm going to put it on the back layer. Now this is not. It may look bright, but it actually is going. When it renders out, it's going to be a dark gray, which is a really good material for the back textures. So it still has a little bit of color, so you can see it, but it doesn't stick out as much as the front colors do. So I'm also going to use a turquoise blue, and I'm going to put it on the front. Okay, we're back up. Got the turquoise blue texture on the front of my text right now. So I'm going to go ahead and render it out and let you all see what it's going to look like in Cinema 4D like this. So this is what it would look like if I just typed the font in the computer and left it as the font. So this is a little bit of a trick that you can do to make your fonts look a little bit less like fonts and more like hand-drawn graffiti. So when you want to hold Control and click on both layers, and then you want to push the letter C. So you're going to open both of them up until you can see the null object. Once they're open, you can start arranging them in different positions in different areas of your screen. So what I usually do is I stagger them, 1 forward, 1 back, and then I want to bring them in until I find they're where I want them. Now I feel like the end is a little bit too big. So I want to desize or take it down in size a little bit with this tool. Then I can move it back into the A. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the A and I'm also going to make it a little bit smaller so it fits in with the correlation of the style of text that I'm using. So I want to move it back just a little bit so it's set back more. And I want to do this I want to go through each letter and do this. So I've got my T basically where I want it. I want to go to my E and I want to move it back. Now once I get my E where I want it, I want to bring the size down substantially. About right there, and I want to position it a little bit further out. So once I rotate and make sure I have everything equal distance, I can bring it back forward. No. This is gonna make it look a little bit more like hand-drawn graffiti once you put it into Photoshop. So I'm gonna open this up. Okay, we're back in Photoshop now. Basically, I'm just gonna put this on a nothing, real crazy, but I want to do a little bit of a background so you can see how the text is gonna look on like a desktop background or something that you were gonna do for a speed art or something of that nature. So I'm gonna get a pretty big circle here, not too big, somewhere about 500 range. I'm gonna make my color white. I want to make a new layer. Find your middle somewhere, pretty close to the middle, and click. So click a few times. I want to take the opacity down just a little bit, about right there. So then you can open your text. Now, yes, you can use shortcuts for all these clicks on the mouse, but I'm not doing that right now so you can see where I'm going. Okay, once you have your text open, you're going to open up your styles. Now, your layer styles. Now, you can get layer styles from different graphics artists, but I don't really use any. I usually just create my own. There's a style that I already have created, and I'm going to show you what this style is and actually what it pertains of. And the style changes depending on what text I use. What style, whether it's graffiti or just a normal font. So my drop shadow is usually set just like this. It's a bigger drop shadow than most people use, but I feel that it works best on graffiti. So your opacity is going to be about 75. Your angle, depending on where you want it, you can change that to whatever you want it. It's not going to change much with this drop shadow. So the spread is going to be about 32. Your distance is going to be about 0. You can change this if you want to. I don't, because I feel that this is a better look for graffiti. Then your size is going to be about 31, and then everything else you're not going to mess with. My inner glow, I'm going to change this to white, and I'm going to put it on overlay. It just gives the highlights a little bit brighter look to them. I'm going to go to my gradient overlay. I'm going to make sure it is on overlay. I'll put the opacity to 100. And everyone has this gradient. It's in everyone's Photoshop. It's black to white, it's standard, or you use this one. Whichever one you choose looks best. The white to black is what I usually use for this one. And you put it on reflected and align with layer. That's it. You take your scale all the way to 150, all the way up, and hit OK. And this is going to give you the different style to this text. Now, what the next step is going to be is adding a texture to your text. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to wherever you have your textures, which I'm sure you have a bunch. I also have quite a few. The main ones that I use are usually in this folder. Sometimes I'll branch out and use different ones. So I want to use like a blotchy kind of texture to put on here. I'm probably gonna put a few more than just one texture on this text because it is graffiti. So to get the look that I'm looking for, I might use more than one texture. And I always hit Control U and change the saturation or the color of it to a gray. That way it'll look better on my text. Okay. So you want to hold Alt and select right between the layers and pull up, which will put your texture on nothing but your text. You want to change your texture to overlay, and this is going to give it a pretty good look as is. Now if you want to make it darker, which I usually tend to do, you want to hold Control and push M. What this is going to do is going to pull up your curves. You're going to take the bottom box and you're going to move it in, which is going to bring in your blacks, and it's going to make it darker. Now if you want to make it lighter, you can always move the top one or move it down to make it darker. So that's I think that looks pretty good. Now I want to add just one more texture to it to kind of give it a metal look. I want to add something that has some groove to it. So I want to either add this texture or let's add this one. It has a little bit more flow in it. So, wonderful decline. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. I'm doing a tutorial. Alright. So once we got it open, you want to rotate it to where it is on your text and in the form that you want it. it render out. Okay, so we got it right where we want it. Kind of pull it in the dark side. I'm gonna put it on overlay once again. Now, I don't know that I like this look, so I want to bring it underneath the other layer, and it kind of gives you a darker tint to it, so I actually like it more like this. So I'm gonna go ahead and merge these down to this layer, and nothing should change. If it does, you want to Control Z and undo that, because that's not what you want. Now, a few other things that you can do: you can open up a new layer. If you don't like the darkness of it, you can make it darker by using a brush, which I tend to do with black. And you want to have your brush opacity on about 75, and make sure it is black and on a new layer. And you want to just color it in, just like I'm doing now. And you want to kind of get the tips of each individual letter. Okay. So once I've done so, I'm going to hold Alt, and I'm going to click between the layers. And once I've done that, it's going to put it on just the text. Now you can change it, according to how you want it to look. If it's too much or if it's not enough, you can make it darker or brighter as once you've got it on the text. So I'll let this render up, get caught up. So I'm going to go to overlay and click on overlay. That brings out my highlights again. I'm going to go to my eraser because I feel it's too much in some areas. So I'm just going to erase a little bit of it. Not much, because I don't want to get away from the tips. I want the tips to still be pretty black, but I don't want as much in the middle. So, alright, I think that's pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag and drop this to my other image. So let's Control Z that. And select both layers and move them over. Okay. Alright, now I don't want to change any of that. I do want to delete that layer. Okay. So what I want to go ahead and do is merge this down so I don't have to keep moving both layers. So I'm going to Control T, and I want to change the size and get it to where I want it. So got it about right there. Now I'm going to take my eraser tool, because I don't like the way this looks. I'll just change it up a little bit. Okay, so basically, and this is just a basic background and text tutorial, and I hope you all have enjoyed it. And this is Hayes, and if you need any other tutorials, please message me and I will get them to you. Thank you.